Fellow citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis, 2 years ago on August 6, 2022, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, led by Dr. Terence Stew, assumed leadership of the government following the general elections. The Dew-led administration made a host of glowing promises to the electorate relative to how they would govern, including but not limited to the following: bringing greater relief to the poor and marginalized through enhancement of the Poverty Alleviation Program PAP, started by my team Unity Government; securing large-scale housing solutions to those who want to achieve the goal of home ownership; diversifying the economy in order to boost the nation's gross domestic product; prioritizing law and order; making our citizenship by investment program bigger and more profitable, with citizens receiving greater benefits from this economic driver; and investing heavily in healthcare through the construction of a smart hospital and the provision of an MRI facility at the JNF General Hospital. When asked, are you better off today than 2 years ago? The vast majority of Kittitians and Nevisians have answered with a resounding no. The vast majority believe that they are doing worse today than 2 years ago. They do not feel safe. They do not feel that this government is paying attention to their needs or that of their families. They feel ignored and disrespected by this arrogant and incompetent government. I get calls every day from people whose lives have been made hard and difficult by this government. They are disappointed in this useless government that is oblivious to their pain and suffering. They see the government for the fraud it is. The current broken government made so many promises and have so quickly broken them without explanation or regard to the people. It is painfully evident to the people of our country that after 2 years in office, this administration is yet to deliver on any of these major promises, as well as the countless others shouted on the campaign trail outlined in their party's manifesto. On the government's second anniversary in office, it is an ideal time to look at their track record, create an objective report card, and admit without fear or favor that this government has been a colossal failure and a fraud from its inception. Let us examine some key facts that justify this assessment. Take, for example, their promise to enhance the PAP. The government promised the electorate that they would have tripled the monthly PAP support from the rate of $500 per month for households to earning less than $3,000 per month to a whopping $1,500 per month. What did we get instead? A reduction in the PAP to less than $250 per month for households with less than a monthly income of $2,400. Moreover, many of the beneficiaries have been removed from the program. People who most desperately need assistance, like the amputees, the elderly, the sick, the poor, and vulnerable people in our country. A number of these beneficiaries have been replaced by Labour supporters when, from its inception, PAP was never about politics. Qualification was purely based on need. We are now hearing of rumors that even Labour supporters living in the USA are PAP beneficiaries, with monthly payments being made to their local bank accounts here. Another important promise was securing large-scale housing solutions. Recalled in May 2023, the administration entered into an agreement with a Trinidad company, East Coast Housing Development Limited, to construct a total of 2,400 affordable smart homes within 4 years, based on a promised delivery of 600 houses per year and lands allocated by the National Housing Corporation or personally owned. To date, only 2 of these houses have been constructed. But what is worse is that this incompetent administration did the unthinkable by providing a rather risky and unheard of guarantee to East Coast Housing Development Limited in the sum of almost $150 million EC. There has been no procurement process, and local contractors were deliberately excluded from what was to be the largest public sector housing project in our country. While our local contractors were omitted from consideration, a foreign entity was the only company selected by our incompetent and corruptible cabinet. Strangely, this company has no proven record of accomplishment in construction anywhere in the world. Worse yet, it is the fact that the present government has exposed the country and people to all of the financial risk associated with the project should East Coast Housing fail to repay the loan which it borrowed for construction of these overpriced houses. In the event of such a catastrophe, our people in St. Kitts and Nevis will have to pay back every penny of the loan. This entire arrangement has lacked transparency from the very beginning, as our government failed to provide our citizens and residents with the facts of this shaky arrangement. What about diversifying the economy? To date, there have not been a single project, industry boost, or new investment brought by the present government. We still have the same tourism, agricultural, manufacturing, and construction sectors which are now struggling to survive in a flatlined economy. We have seen no new investors or investment in the marine blue economy, in the information and communication technology sectors, or in sustainable development projects from which we can boost our GDP, realize foreign exchange earnings, boost exports, or create new jobs. Instead, we are witnessing the departure of a number of businesses on Port Zante and elsewhere in Basti and around the country, stores closures in the Pelican Mall and elsewhere, layoffs in the local workforce, and an adverse impact on the severance payment fund in order to provide for these displaced workers. Our small businesses have it too hard. To add insult to injury, a number of local businesses, especially food retail outlets, are the repeated victims of armed robberies. So much so that our people have become desensitized to the news of their occurrence. Jobs are very scarce. Inflation is way out of control. Our agricultural sector is underperforming. No new manufacturing company has come. The marijuana industry is yet to get started. Indeed, most people say nothing is happening except an oversized board with 15 members has been created at the taxpayers' expense. And what about prioritizing law and order? The current incompetent administration promised to make and keep law and order as their number one priority. This is yet to be seen in real terms. Sadly, what we have witnessed over the past 2 years is an escalation in our murder rate and a return to our national notoriety of being the murder capital of the world. Since August 5th, 2022, our country has lost over 60 lives due to murder. So far for 2024, we have had 23 murders. Moreover, we are now seeing a worsening of this criminal upsurge with the new trend of assassination-styled murders of women and children with assault rifles. One cannot forget that at the center of this government's crime prevention strategy is the Minister of National Security's appointment of a family member as National Security Advisor. This advisor has demonstrated a flippancy and insensitivity to human life. That individual is sadly on record of claiming that he would be satisfied if, in fact, the murder rate was pegged at 1 murder per month. This is distasteful and unacceptable. Every life is precious. This individual is still employed and paid by our taxpayers, and there has been no return on the investment in his huge salary or that of the other inept advisors. One cannot address the abject failure of the due administration without mentioning the negative impact of public safety and crime in general, brought about by the government's abrupt end to the successful diversion program of our Explorers Club for young people, and the adulteration of the equally successful Alternative Lifestyle Program, also referred to as the Peace Program. The statistics do not lie. There was a marked reduction in the annual murder rate during the operation of the program. The public continues to make repeated appeals to the government to fully reconstitute the peace program and restart the Explorers Club out of love for our country. Such appeals have so far fallen on deaf ears, while the blood of our sons and daughters run in the streets and cry out for justice, all while children, parents, and loved ones grapple with the loss of their sons, fathers, and other family members who have been brutally and savagely murdered. And then they promise us that our citizenship by investment program will be made bigger. Up until August 5th, the CBI program of St. Kitts and Nevis was #1 in the world. The revenues of this once buoyant economic driver was felt among our people who benefited in terms of key social safety net programs, essential social services like healthcare, education, national security, etc. After 2 years in office, the Jew administration has tampered significantly with the program through price changes, several sets of regulations, and now the transition of the Citizenship by Investment Unit into a state corporation. The erratic price changes, confusion, and loss of global investor confidence have led to our premier citizenship program to be relegated to the bottom, behind other CARICOM jurisdictions offering migration and citizenship programs. The CBI program is also now under threat from a so-called foreign investor who had been unfortunately named by the Jew administration as a face of the public benefit option of the program. This individual, with a deep criminal past, has brought a suit against the country and plunged the CBI program in disrepute. Meanwhile, the corruptible and incompetent government seems to lack the intestinal fortitude to bring an end to the so-called foreign investors' assignment as a spokesperson for our CBI program. One wonders why such foolishness is allowed to continue. The public is also now asking whether there are questions for the government to answer regarding potential conflicts of interest among some of the government's advisors, CBI operators, and other interested parties, both at the local level and abroad. The point must also be made that the administration promised to pay CBI dividends to citizens within our country twice per year. The record will show that these dividend payments, which commenced in December 2022, have now been stopped. The government reneged on making the last payment that was due over a month ago. What about their promise about investing in healthcare? One major drum beaten by Dr. Ju, while in opposition, was the need to prioritize healthcare in St. Kitts. Indeed, much of his time in opposition, while serving as a medical doctor, was spent leveling unjustifiable criticisms on the previous Team Unity government's positive track record on healthcare investment over its 7.5-year history. Of course, no other federal government is yet to match Team Unity's record of establishing an oncology department at the JNF Hospital, the reconstruction of Mary Charles Hospital, the construction of a mental health day treatment center at Limekiln, and the brand new health center in Tabernacle. The review of salaries for nurses between 2021 and 2022, as well as the complete refurbishment of the roof and the expansion of the hemodialysis unit at the JNF Hospital. And to this, the cost of the new MRI unit, which was provided for in the 2022 budget, which I delivered. Upon taking office, Dr. Ju indicated that the MRI would be underground in short order. 2 years into his government's term, we are still waiting for the completion of the MRI unit. Meanwhile, his government has inexplicably halted advanced plans to install a cardiac lab at the JNF Hospital, which was started by Team Unity. This one defies logic, given that non-communicable diseases, NCDs, are responsible for 84% of deaths in our country, and the cardiac lab would have been of tremendous benefit for patients who are in danger of dying from heart attacks. Apart from these failures in healthcare delivery, from a health ministry led by the Prime Minister himself, one cannot forget the public's complaints regarding poor physical plant maintenance, stockouts of some essential drugs, the inability to get certain basic lab tests done, and repeated service delivery complaints by a number of patients accessing care at some of our primary and secondary healthcare facilities. The 2-year tenure in office by this incompetent administration has left a sore taste in the mouth of our citizens and residents. Even before the end of its 90 days in office, the painful and woeful cries of our people began to resound throughout the land. Their voices have been heard and are escalating at higher decibels through social media posts, radio call-in programs, in songs, community-based conversations, and even in one-on-one discussions amongst friends and neighbors. Ironically, the majority of the loudest most angry and cynical of voices have been those of the very Labour supporters who elected this incompetent, self-centred, dysfunctional, lazy and inept government to office. This government has been a national disgrace in the eyes of many. After 2 years of enduring this inept administration, the public has had its fill of the worn out and protracted stance of blaming the opposition for the current government's abject failures. Failure to take responsibility for the country is clearly demonstrative of the inept government's inability to govern St. Kitts and Nevis. The time has long come and gone for the administration to focus on providing solutions for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis rather than making lame excuses. The public has also been forced to swallow the bitter pill and the high bill of the Jew administration seeing it fit to pay itself a hefty 36% increase in salaries, while the cabinet continues to flounder and underperform. Simultaneously, the same uncaring government has seen it fit to strip down all of the social safety net programs designed to provide a decent standard of living for the poor, the marginalized, and the disadvantaged. The government has also continued to amass failing grades with regard to crime, insecurity, and public safety. The government offers no new innovative measures to tackle the problems confronting our people and our beloved country. The Prime Minister must be held accountable for the deterioration of public safety and the failure to address escalating violence in St. Kitts and Nevis. His administration's lack of effective crime prevention strategies and the abandonment of successful initiatives cited earlier have directly contributed to the current crisis. The situation in our country has deteriorated to the point where violence is no longer confined to gang-related incidents. We have now witnessed the tragic and unacceptable slaughter of a parent and an innocent 9-year-old child. This alarming shift in the trend of violence raises urgent questions such as, when will this end? Who is truly leading the Ministry of National Security? Is anyone at the helm of our nation, or is our leadership asleep, allowing chaos to reign unchecked? The Federation cannot afford to continue down this destructive path. What is now required is for the Prime Minister to step up and take immediate and decisive action to address the pressing issues of our nation. 2 years in office, he appears incapable of doing the job. It is now time for him to step aside to allow for leadership that can restore safety, prosperity, and confidence in our government. Our Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis deserves a leader who confronts challenges head-on with effective policies and a clear vision for a stronger and safer future. This administration has failed miserably to provide that leadership. The consequences are painfully evident in all our communities. As we witness the third year of this administration, we must hold the incompetent Prime Minister completely responsible. Some who believe in his vision for the future and voted him into office are now experiencing buyer's remorse, as every fabric of the St. Kitts and Nevis society seems to be either on the strain or at the point of breaking. The time has certainly come for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis to pull back our country from the edge of the cliff of destruction to which the current administration has taken us in 2 short years. The time has come to entrust our nation's leadership to a government with a tried, tested, and proven track record to lead, to deliver, to empathize, and to provide for our people's socioeconomic needs, while creating the environment for them to be safe, to thrive, and to succeed in life. The government can only be one led by the People's Labour Party, who has demonstrated time and again its successful and proven leadership during the tenure of the Team Unity administration. The nation yearns for the kind of leadership provided then. It is time for accountability and real solutions, not lies, not excuses, and not blame. May God be merciful to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, and may He bless us all. I thank you.